Words matter because words are powerful. To understand where words come from, not just what they mean, is to realize that power. The late Jordan Maxwell spent 50 years researching the continuity of maritime law and the ruling institutions today, specifically the federal justice system. Now, if you're not familiar with maritime law, I'm sure you've seen this symbol before. It's a scale. It stands for equality, balance, rule of law, and justice. It's also in every court in America, but that's its own rabbit hole you can get into if you'd like. But it got me thinking, what other institutions does the ruling class use to control us? Well, the first thing that came to my mind was the news. Now, the etymology of the news is pretty contested, though the fact checkers are adamant that it does not come from this. You're about to find out why. See, this is very important in maritime, because if you're a sailor in the 15th century, you're going to want to check the news every day, because that's going to tell you where things are going. So if you're on a little boat in the sea, you got a sail, S-A-L-E, even though we all know the news never sells anything. But we're going to treat this as a prefix. So, how was the news initially propagated? It's a cast. Newscast. So someone's in here and they're casting something. Now, a broadcast is just a newscast with a broader audience. Now, what is the broadcast made up of? News reels. Not to be confused with R-E-A-L, but like Instagram reel or a highlight reel. So we've got our reels. Now, when you see the newsreel on the broadcast, who do you see? Well, that person is called an anchor. Who don't you see? Who's behind the camera? That person is the news crew. So we got a crew in here. We also got an anchor. And an anchor is just a fabricated media personality designed to anchor you into a narrative. Now, who's running this show here? Who's providing the resources? Who's funding this operation? Well, that would be the news network. Being a series of trade routes for distribution amongst the sea. But also, if you look at this, we're casting a reel, throwing an anchor. We're also deploying a net. It's almost like we're trying to catch something, not just the wind in our sails. But what does the news network broadcast? Literally, it broadcasts air waves. Or radio waves. So we got a nice little picture coming in here. Now, what does the network broadcast airwaves on? A news channel. Being literally a body of water, a route of distribution in a network, or it's a verb for guiding something where you want it to go, like in the net maybe. Another word for channel is station. Man your stations. But on these news channels, how is it fragmented? How is it presented to you? Well, they call those news reports. Port being the end of a channel in a network. Now, in these news reports are current events. So we got some motion in the ocean. And that's important because we need to know the direction things are going. So when you look at the news report on the channel, or you look at a news article, the first thing you see is called the headline. That's what this is. In journalism, the first sentence after the headline in an article is called the hook. Now, we don't really read newspaper articles anymore, but we do have our own word for this. And funny enough, it's clickbait. Now, let's talk about the people in this vessel. They're all the anchors, the crew, the writers, the sponsors, the CEOs. They're all in the same boat, which is to say, all hands on deck. You learn the ropes and you toe the line. Because we're all on board here, all aboard. And you better not go overboard, because that'll rock the boat and make waves, and you'll be in deep water, because it'll dock your pay and you won't be able to stay afloat. Now, this is why when information is released that they don't want you to know about, it's called a leak. And what is this thing that is trying to stop the leaks? The censorship. Now, if you think this is all just a schizophrenic coincidence, I've got some news for you. This is a spell that is being casted on us to distract us from what is real. And I'm not saying necessarily it's all because of the hooks. There is definitely something going on, and it's a little fishy.